Is your magic meter running low? Well, we've got a cure for you. Welcome to Dizney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Dizney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and today on the show I have Disney legend Bill Farmer joining me to discuss his new series coming to Disney Plus on May 15th called It's a Dog's Life with Bill Farmer. For well over 30 years now, Bill has been the voice of both Goofy and Pluto, so his connection and love for dogs has been part of his life for a very long time. On this new original series, Bill travels to different locations to discover the different sorts of jobs that dogs perform. Some of these jobs may not surprise you, but some of them certainly will. In this interview, Bill shares stories about how this show came about, some of his favorite moments from the series, and so much more. You can hear it all right after this. If you're a dog owner and lover like today's guest, perhaps you've wanted to train your dog. If so, you can head to audibletrial.com/DCTC and get yourself a free audiobook copy of How to Raise the Perfect Dog by the dog whisperer himself, Cesar Millan, or browse through many other dog training audiobook options. After all, Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. If dog training isn't your thing, perhaps you're looking for a good Disney title. Audible makes it super simple to search for your free audiobook by simply typing in a keyword of your choice. Within seconds, you'll be able to browse through hundreds of titles and find the perfect fit for you. So don't miss this opportunity to get your free audiobook today by visiting audibletrial.com/DCTC. That's audibletrial.com/DCTC.
Prepare for some insight. You've tuned in to an exclusive DCTC interview.
Bill, thank you so much for coming back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm so excited.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm so excited to talk about your latest project because you told me about this quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And it's finally been announced. And I just remember when you were talking to me about it, you were so excited about it. So I'm so happy to see it finally happening, you know?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Actually, it's called It's a Dog's Life with Bill Farmer, and it premieres May 15th. Now is the set date to be. It'll come out on Disney Plus, and yeah, we've been waiting for this for a long time, and couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, and you're such an animal lover, so I am kind of curious, when did that start for you? I'm going to assume it was very young.
Oh, yeah. When I was a kid, I was always the kid. I'd be down at our park and I'd be catching snakes and frogs and turtles and things like that. And I've always had dogs, and I've just always been a big animal lover. And since I've been voicing dogs for about 33 years now, it just seemed natural that I should do a show on camera as a host of a dog show.
Yeah, and now how many dogs do you currently have?
I have two. I have a black lab pit bull mix named Boo, who is actually out with a friend of ours on a walk right now, and our other dog, Roxy, who we call our terrierist, and she is a little Westie mix and runs the place. And we've had her. She's 13 and Boo is 12.
Fantastic. Now, I did notice in the credits that, it says Bill Farmer and Jen Farmer, your lovely wife, as executive producers of this.
Actually, it started with me, Jennifer, and a good friend of mine, Steve Duvall, who I've known for many, many years, and he's most famous as one of the cameramen on the show The Amazing Race for about 30 seasons. So his passport looks like a phone book. And he's kind of an adventure kind of guy. And really it was because of what Steve was trying to do up in Reno, kind of gave us the idea for the show. And I developed it along with him and Jennifer and pitched it to Disney, and they said yes.
Okay, so what was that pitching process like? Because I do feel like there was definitely this time, even kind of currently still, that people are like, oh, this Disney Plus thing is coming. They're going to need content. Let's pitch.
That's absolutely true. But at the time, I wasn't even aware of Disney Plus, or I'd heard rumors of it and talking about it, but I hadn't paid that much attention to it. The way it all came about, I had been asked by my friend Steve, who lives up in Reno, to do a local show that he was putting together for a potential little television show up in the local Reno market. And the show was on an equestrian center where people dress up like in the old English fox hunting garb, and they get on their horses and they tally-ho, and there are no foxes up there. So it's basically a way to, just get your horses to have some exercise. And she has like 50 to 75 walker hounds, which are the type of hounds you'd see on a fox hunt, and give them a good run. And I was going to host this little segment that he was putting together. Steve had asked me to come up and host this. And I just started kind of playing around with the dogs and doing voices and stuff. And that particular footage just kind of jumped out at us and said, maybe instead of doing it about the people that run this, we should do it about dogs. And with my wife and Steve, we kind of formulated an idea, and the tagline of me stepping out from behind the microphone as the voice of dogs to find out about real dogs, real working dogs across the country. And as luck would have it, I was at a party with Howard Green, who's head of Disney publicity for animation. And Howard, I was telling him about this idea. And at the time, I hadn't thought about pitching it to Disney. I thought, oh, that's way beyond anything. I was thinking, well, maybe PBS would like it, or Animal Planet. But Howard said, before you go to any of them, pitch it to Disney. And long story short, he got a meeting with us with Dan Silver, who's head of unscripted reality television for Disney Plus. We went and had a meeting, showed him our idea, and he loved it from the get-go. And something that happened that day that rarely ever happens, they bought the series on the spot. They said, we want this. We'd like to see maybe a budget for a pilot. And then they called us about 3 days later and said, no, we want 10 episodes. Let's go for it. And so that started the ball rolling, and negotiations with, getting employees and offices and staff and cameras and all the things you have to have in a television production, with the people at Disney kind of helping out and all of that. We took from January until actually September is when we actually started shooting our first episode. All of that was pre-production, finding the stories, getting permission to do the stories, all the legal work that goes into that, and started shooting in September. And we ended in January of this year with our final show. And it's been in various stages of post-production and audio sweetening, color correction, editing, all of those things that have to go into a television show. And we are delivering our final show, I think, as of this or next week. And they have the other 9. They've signed off on them. They're in the can. They're ready to be shown.
That is awesome. I am curious, had you ever pitched a show before, or was this your first?
I've never pitched a show. Maybe ignorance is bliss, but I didn't know the procedure. One of my good friends, Don Hahn, who's a producer of many shows like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, we kind of weighed on him heavily as our fairy godmother to kind of guide us through this procedure. Like, what do you say at a pitch meeting? What do you do? Well, you get a little reel together of what the show's about, and you show it to them, and then you kind of give them a little packet saying what your idea is. And he kind of guided us through that procedure, and he's no small part responsible for getting this greenlit.
That's awesome. You're talking about all my favorite people. Don Hahn has been on the show numerous times. I adore him. Howard Green is amazing. I keep trying to get Howard on the show because a lot of people may not know the name Howard Green, but I call him the mayor of Walt Disney Animation. Anytime I'm there just sitting on a couch chatting with him, like everybody that walks by, hey Howard, he's just been there forever and knows everybody.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Well, he's the best, and he really was the first one that said, "Yeah, pitch it to us first," and that
That's great.
kind of greased the wheels to get in. We know people that have been trying to get in to even pitch something for up to 2 years. So we were very fortunate that I think he had something to do with maybe getting us into get a pitch in the first place. But then it took on a life of its own, and we've been very fortunate.
Wow. So now that original thing that you were shooting where you kind of had the realization of, oh, let's make it a show about the dogs. Did anything ever happen with that footage?
Not that footage. We reshot it for our show with kind of the format that we developed over the months, but we did that story. Yes, that story of the Walker Hounds and that equestrian center is one of the segments in one of our shows.
Okay, very cool. And I am kind of curious, how did you guys go about finding these dogs? Did you kind of have an idea or a list of dog jobs that you're like, hey, I want to look into this? Or was this a big research team? How'd that all come about?
Well, a little of both. We kind of had, I heard about a dog that can smell cancer. I heard about a dog that was this guy's best man in a wedding, and all of these little stories, and we started collecting them. And we were able to hire 3 or 4 researchers whose job it is to scour the internet for stories about dogs, kind of follow up on them, see if they're viable, if they're good people, and if it's real and all of that kind of thing. And for example, one of the stories is about the Cincinnati Zoo that raises their cheetah cub with a dog. They make great partners when there's not another cheetah to raise one with. They like a sibling together. They do better when they have someone to play with and to grow up with. And dogs work wonderfully. So they do that in San Diego and some other places around the country, but Cincinnati was very receptive to the idea of us doing a show with them. And so we put it on the docket, went to the Cincinnati Zoo, and came out with what I consider one of the better episodes that we did, one of the best ones, actually, because it's exciting to see cheetahs with dogs. It's just, who would have thought? Who would have thunk it?
Yeah. So you were saying that you shot from basically September to January.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's 10 episodes.
10 episodes, yes.
2 dog stories per episode, right?
Yeah, there's 2 dog stories per episode. We also have some other segments like Pluto's Pointers. So with a little bit of help from Pluto, we find out about how people at home should acclimate a new puppy to your home. How do you meet a dog in public? What do you do to make sure that your dog doesn't get too upset or anxious when you leave? Some dogs will tear up the couch when you leave. They get very nervous. And there's some just little tips that dog owners should know, very basic ones, about how to take care of your dog. We also have another segment, Goofy's Hometown Heroes, where we kind of highlight a story about a dog that are sent in by people around the country that kind of feature a dog. It's not necessarily a working dog. It's just a dog that has done something unique. Like there's one where they got a dog and he plays the piano and sings along with it, which is hilarious to see. Other dogs that are care dogs, comfort dogs. We had one that about a dog that got lost in the woods on a camping trip and was gone for over a month and made his way back home. And that little story. So they're just kind of human interest stories dealing with dogs. The other 2 main stories are about where we've gone and found out about these wonderful dogs that have amazing, interesting jobs.
This show must have the most Bill Farmer credits of any show ever. We've got executive producer, host, Pluto, and Goofy all represented. I mean, this is, of course you created it. This is the dream Bill Farmer gig, I would say.
Yeah, it's kind of nice after 33 years of being on one side of the microphone. Now I'm still on that side, but I'm also in the kind of the director's chair, and we get to I get to kind of say what goes on in the show. And it's kind of my wife and I and Steve's vision. And we have a couple of other executive producers, Gary Benz, who's with GRB Entertainment. They're a company that we were partnered with because they have the offices, they have the editing bays, they have the legal department, stuff that I have no idea how to run. And it's easier to partner with a production company that knows those things. And Gary's in charge of that. And Phil Crooner, our showrunner, who is basically the boss. Imagine a television show kind of is like a car dealership where Jennifer and I and Steve are the dealership owners. And Phil would be the general manager at the dealership. He knows how to run a television show, things that I've never had to do before in the last 33 years. In other words, now I have people for that. So
it's a good position to be in. I'm really happy for you. And like I said, when you first told me about this, like your eyes just lit up. And I know that you're such a dog lover, and it's taken a while. I kind of thought, because we spoke about it middle of last year, so I thought it might launch with Disney Plus. So when it wasn't there, I was like, "What's going on?"
Well, Disney Plus told us. They said, "We aren't going to do that to you. A few months isn't enough time." They know how long these things take to produce, and it does. It takes. We have about 20, 25 employees that are working on this, and yeah, it's. There's more that go into a television show than I ever realized, because I get to go in and go, "Gorge, howdy," and go home. But now I'm in all levels of it, behind the scenes as well as in front of the camera.
How are you enjoying the in front of camera stuff? Because I know you've done on camera before. In fact, first time I ever met you was at a live show when you were doing the Fred Willard comedy group there.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So you're no stranger to, having your face being seen, but
right. I've been in a few movies. If you even go back to 1986, I was in the movie RoboCop, which is one of my first movies that I was on camera. And I had forgotten how long it takes to put together a television show or a motion picture. It just is a long time. And it only takes me a couple hours to voice a goofy cartoon, but it takes a year to animate it. So, I don't see that part.
Yeah. So, but are you enjoying the on-camera stuff again? Was that maybe part of the interest for you?
Not really. I've never liked really watching myself, but I'm getting used to it now. I think that's why I like doing animation it's goofy on screen and not me, but it's me. It's a little different. And he doesn't get older. I do. I look, oh man, I'm getting old, and I got to lose a little weight or whatever. But but if I can divorce myself from that and worrying about what I look like, and I can just look at, okay, that was a good question. Okay, that works. Yeah, I can enjoy it now after it's over with, I guess.
The older we get, we just make sure we hire better makeup artists and make sure
that's right. Definitely.
So I've actually got the list in front of me of all these amazing dogs that you've gone and I guess interviewed isn't the right word. You've gone and checked out their skills. And there are a couple I definitely want to talk to you about, because one that is being highly promoted is the whale poop sniffing dog.
That's
what is this about?
Episode number 1. Yes.
Yes.
Well, it appears that there is a dog up in the University of Washington State. They have a little dog named Eba, and Eba is a Jack Russell Terrier Pit Bull mix, and she has the unique ability to find whale poop. Now you might say, why do you want to find whale poop? She is owned by a scientist who works in the oceanographic a part of the Washington State University, and they are studying the what do they call it? The southern killer whale. It's a resident killer whale, southern resident killer whale, which is kind of a subspecies of the regular killer whale, the orca you see out there. And these orcas eat salmon, and almost exclusively. But they have been dwindling in numbers in the last few years, and they were trying to find out why. The only way you can't really get a blood sample too easily from a whale, but you can find their poop, and you can research and find out a lot about a whale's diet and how healthy they are, what they're eating, are they, healthy, and all of this kind of stuff by finding a sample of their poop. Now, in the old days, they could just follow the whales all day and wait and see if they could find something. and they could find maybe 3 samples in a period of time. I think like within a couple of weeks, it was very hard to find a sample because it dissipates. This dog can tell you, yep, it's right over there. And they've gone from like 3 samples to about 150 samples in the same period of time. And their sense of smell is absolutely amazing. And so the researchers have been finding out a lot more about the whales due to this little dog that has been trained to find whale poop. And when he finds whale poop, he gets to play with a toy. That's his reward. So it's all about enjoyment and about the treat with the dogs, and dogs either use food as a treat or playing with a toy, or just maybe a pat on the head is enough. Some dogs, also in our first episode, we have on border collies that are on a sheep herding dogs. And they do it for the pure love of it. They don't require a treat, a payoff of any kind. They just love to do it. And that's what I've learned through this series, is how amazing these dogs are, and that they've got to want to do it. And they are all just very, they're ready to go out there at a moment's notice and work, because it's not work to them. It's play.
That poor dog that got the whale poop sniffing job. It's like, what did he do?
So happy. He is so happy when he finds it. He's okay, and he's ready to play. Where's my toy?
I think we need an episode of Goofy doing that job or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
or
man.
Pluto.
Yeah. So you also had some mascot dogs. Were these like professional team mascots or something?
Yeah, the one we picked was the mascot at the University of Texas, a dog named Reveille, a collie. It's the 9th Reveille that they've had since the very first mascot that Texas A&M adopted many, many years ago. And this dog leads a better life than you or me. It gets a 4-hour spot treatment on Friday before the game.
Wow.
It seems to understand how big a deal he is when he goes out on the game at the start of a Texas A&M game in front of about 100,000 fans. He's all there, and he loves this. So it's kind of about, the personality of the dog. And one of the things that we tried to do with this show is not make it about dogs that do a particular job. That's part of it, but it's about this particular dog. Reveille is this dog, and how, because they are all individuals like people are. Some of them have, more gregarious personalities. Some are higher energy than others. Some are more laid back. They're all individuals, and we try and get to know the individual dog as well as the job that they are doing and how well they do it.
That's very cool. Tell me about this dog mayor.
There is one of the episodes about a dog mayor in the little town of Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. Now, you say, how could they elect a mayor? It's kind of the town has really no residents. I think they say that they have like half a resident. He lives there half the year, and he lives the other half the year in Florida. But it's a little town founded just along the Ohio River in 1831. So little, and they still have the original buildings from there. An old general store. People come there and it's kind of gotten notoriety because many years ago they elected a dog as their mayor. We asked him, why did you elect a dog? He says, hey, he's doing a better job than the guy we had, so and it got so much notoriety that they started a little campaign is where you can vote for the next dog mayor. It costs you $1 a vote. You can live anywhere in the world, and you can vote as many times as you want. And they use that income from the voting thing to help keep the town in repair and replace things that have fallen down or need a new roof or whatever. And it's more of a tourist, it's a national, I guess you'd say a monument. It's not a monument, but it's a nationally historically significant place along the Ohio River. And they use this dog mayor as a kind of a way to get money. And I guess he's getting the town more money than the last real live mayors did.
That's so interesting. The thing that I love about hearing you talk about these stories is you're talking about them with such specific detail that, frankly, I mean, after shooting 20 different dogs, I wouldn't expect you to necessarily remember those tiny little details. It sounds like you must have had so much fun to remember all that stuff, or maybe you've just seen a billion edits. I don't know which it is, but
It's probably a little of both, but no, it was just a joy to go because it's a feel-good show. It's all about, I mean, who doesn't love dogs? I mean, it reveals them to be personalities as well as pets. And they are our coworkers. And the owners of these dogs and the people that work with these dogs have such a love and a regard for these dogs and what they can do, and learning about the science behind dogs and their sense of smell, their amazing sense of smell and what that's capable of. It just blows your mind. And I have so much more respect for dogs now. And my wife, Jennifer, when we got married, was totally pathologically afraid of dogs, wouldn't be in the same room with a dachshund or something. She just would not go near dogs. And now we're raising pit bulls. So you can overcome that.
wow.
when you learn about dogs.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting is, these dogs are obviously doing very specific jobs. And
Yes.
have you found that when you speak with the trainers and stuff, is this something, or a lot of these jobs, is it something that they feel like they could train most dogs, or a lot of these dogs have very, very specific special skills?
A little of both. For example, Eva, the whale poop dog, is the personal pet of the scientist up in Washington State University. She just thought, well, maybe I could train my dog to do this. And so it wasn't a specially trained dog, but all dogs have an amazing sense of smell. And she knew that the dog was quite trainable and had a great gregarious personality, and it worked. Other dogs, almost, I'd say over 90% of the dogs we did stories on were rescue dogs. Now, there are some qualities that rescue dogs quite often have that don't make them the best pets. A lot of times, for example, one of the stories was a rescue dogs, like let's say there's a big earthquake and buildings and stuff fall down, and dogs can find people trapped under the rubble better than, very quickly when time matters. And those dogs need to have high energy. They need to bark a lot because when they find you, they'll sit there and bark for an hour until someone comes and rescues that person. So barking all the time may not be a great thing for your house pet, but it's great if you're a rescue dog. Also, the high energy of a lot of the dogs, like the border collies that are the sheep herding dogs, are great if you have a lot of time to invest in keeping these dogs active. If you want a lap dog, and a dog that's kind of sedentary because you are, then that may not be the best breed for you. But all of these breeds have amazing skills in their own right. Most of the dogs we encountered were larger breeds, it seemed like. We didn't have any Pekingese dogs or Chihuahuas, didn't do it. Only one Chihuahua mix that was a circus dog or performing dog. But other than that, most of them are larger dogs, it seems like. Rescue dogs seem to be larger in the larger breeds.
And you did interview, I guess, I don't know how to phrase it. Did you interview the dog? I don't know, but you worked. You were working with some movie star dogs and stunt dogs as well. Any movie star dogs that we might know of or recognize?
Absolutely. From the live action Lady and the Tramp that's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Monty is the name of the dog who played Tramp. He was found in a shelter in Arizona, and it took about 6 months of training for him to learn how to work with Lady and, push a meatball across a plate and eat spaghetti and all of these kind of things. And we did an episode on that where I actually recreated the scene where the eating the spaghetti scene with Monty. And that came out quite nice too. So yes, they're trained dogs. It's interesting how they train the dogs. And again, the personality of the dog comes in so handy and is so important. They got to be trainable, and not all dogs are. My dogs, they can sleep. That's all they do. And they go on walks, and that's that kind of thing. They're regular dogs, but different dogs have different personalities that make them right or wrong for any particular job. And we're exploring a lot of those. But all dogs have these amazing abilities that are fun to find out about.
Yeah, you didn't pick up any pointers when you were shooting the show and try to train your dogs afterward at all or anything?
I did a little bit, but no, I don't know if you can teach an old dog new tricks. I'm letting my dog looks at me like, it ain't happening. So
Now, you obviously traveled a lot to shoot this show. So what was like the furthest location you went to?
we did all of them in the United States
Okay.
on the first season. Upstate New York is probably geographically the farthest from here, over to near Seattle, Vancouver, just near Vancouver, British Columbia, in the boat for the whales. Then some as close as Huntington Beach, California, for surfing dogs.
Yeah.
So we were there. We did a lot on the East Coast. We did several in Ohio and Kentucky and Washington and Maryland and all 11 states, I believe, in about 4.5 months. So we were pretty busy.
Were you kind of going back and forth? Because I assume you were busy with voiceover gigs as well. So would you like shoot a week of the show and then come back to town?
We were able to kind of work around my schedule on the series that I'm on currently, and it never became a problem. Disney was great in scheduling things when I'm in town, and it didn't become a problem. And generally, I wasn't gone for more than a week to maybe 2 weeks at the most. And Disney was able to push off some of my other voiceover work until I was able to do it here in town.
That's great. That's the good thing about, doing the Disney voiceover, but also the Disney TV show. They can work together much more nicely than if it were two different studios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That made it very nice.
So has there been any discussion, or can you say anything? Will there be a season 2? Do you know? Has that been in the rumblings at all?
I think they're going to wait until season 1 airs, and then we'll see how what the reception is, and take it from there. That's generally the way they do. They want to see what people think of it, and when it gets on air, then they can. Of course, we'll have to wait for travel until all of this coronavirus stuff kind of dies down. And during this period, I'm recording my television shows via Zoom and in my studio here, and sending them the high quality audio. So I'm working here tomorrow doing an episode of a show.
Oh, so you are working still. That's good, because
I am.
You're one of the lucky ones in this industry, because so much has been shut down. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was able to do an episode of a show I'm on called Amphibia, which I recorded just a few days ago in my studio here, and it came out great. So it's possible.
Now, your home studio, do you typically use that just for auditions, or do you sometimes actually record shows there?
Until now, it was strictly for auditions, but it's high enough quality. We got great equipment, and I can do it from here.
Very nice. Now, let's assume that there is a season 2 of It's a Dog's Life. Are there any particular dog jobs that you really want to, get into for season 2 that you didn't get to experience in season 1?
We have a list of about 50 stories we would like to look into if we get a season 2. One of the stories that we've heard about, there's an airline we'd love to do over in, I forgot where, it's like in Europe somewhere, but they have a dog that, let's say you leave your wallet or your cell phone on the plane. They can have the dog smell the wallet or that item, and they will find you at baggage claim and give it back to you. That'd be a cool story.
Goodness.
The way I was just reading about a story today that they are training dogs to smell out coronavirus. Their sensor of smell is so that you smell different. You have COVID positive. And I'd love to research that a little bit more. It's totally amazing what dogs can do and can be trained to do. There are, of course, up in Alaska, not the Iditarod, that's 1,000-mile. I don't have enough time to do 1,000-mile thing. But there are some schools up there that kids use dog sleds to go from their home to school. That'd be kind of a cute story. Of course, I'd love to do the Great Britain. We need to do a Scotland, and a Irish setter in Ireland, and an English bulldog in England. Who knows? The field is wide open.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you've already got a list ready for season 2. That's fantastic. I do want to remind folks that this premieres on Friday, May 15th on Disney Plus, and it's going to be going for every Friday for 10 weeks in a row. They'll be releasing a new episode. Super, super exciting. Now, what's the length of the episodes? Are these more like 30 minutes or hour longs?
They are 30-minute shows, yes.
30 minutes. Fantastic. Well, Bill, before I let you go, we have to talk about something that recently happened because you just had a big anniversary for a Goofy movie. Happy 25th anniversary.
25 years ago. Gosh, I can't believe it. It's totally amazing that it has been 25 years. And it's an unusual movie in that it has gained more popularity in the last 10 years than I think it ever has. It gets more popular with time. It is a favorite with fans, and of all the 4,000 things I've done for Disney over the last 33 years, that one stands out. At Comic-Cons, people come out and say, that movie allowed me to talk to my father. We got to know each other better. It meant so much. Unlike any other thing that I've ever done, that movie just seems to resonate with people a lot. It was a very monumental thing for me because of my son, who, when I was acting, I would use my son Austin as Max so I could kind of get into that emotional relationship with him. He was 5 at the time, and so it was a buddy picture with me and my son, as well as Goofy and Max. And it has just been it holds up pretty well. I saw it the other day. We had a virtual cast reunion online, and I looked the same in the movie, but getting a little older in real life.
Yeah, I know there was a big plan for D23 to kind of go on tour with it, so that was kind of done in its place, which is such a major bummer. And you know, we're all doing what we can. There's been so many live stream opportunities lately with so many different things, but it is a little sad because, 25 years, it's a big deal. And like you said, I love those types of projects that become more popular over time.
Yeah.
I find that more exciting just because, sometimes when it first comes out, if it doesn't hit the way you necessarily want, it's a disappointment. So to think 25 years later, you can look back and be like, it's that don't sweat the small stuff sort of thing.
Exactly. And I'm just so thankful for all the fans who have kept this as popular as it is. And it's just, I've been doing Goofy now and Goofy and Pluto for 33 years. And they're wonderful. I just really lucked out with a great character that they still use all the time. And I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll be doing more with Goofy and Mickey and Donald and everybody else.
So since 2019 was the 33rd anniversary for you doing those voices, why don't you tell the folks, just in case they don't know, where did you celebrate the 33rd anniversary of doing the voices?
Where else? Club 33 down at Disneyland.
Exactly. Perfect. And one other thing I want to touch upon, I don't know if you got to experience it or not, but I know that you did a lot of work for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway because, of course, Goofy really is a central character in that. Did you get to experience it before the insanity that the world is right now?
We got taken down to Disneyland, Disney World, and got a tour and go on the ride before the public got to see it. So yes, I did see it. It's absolutely amazing. It's like going into a live action cartoon. You see a cartoon on a screen, and through Disney magic, you get to enter the screen into this wonderful animated world. And I was very fortunate to get a chance to see it before it was kind of shut down. And when it opens up again, I hope everyone gets a chance to see it because it's the first ride, I believe, that features Mickey, which is hard to believe. And it was good, worth the wait, basically.
Yeah, I've seen video of it and it looks fantastic. I've done a whole episode about it on here, and you're right, it's the first Mickey and Minnie ride, which is insane. There are things like Mickey's Philhar Magic and stuff, but as far as actual rides are concerned, took a long time.
And I went in Philhar Magic when I was down there last time too, and luckily, as you get older, luckily your voice doesn't change. I still sound the same.
Yeah. One thing about those shorts is, of course, it's a very different style for Mickey, Goofy, all the characters, very different style. I'm curious, do you perform the voice any differently when you're doing one of those shorts versus something else?
Slightly, because it's almost more Dippy Dog than Goofy. He's dressed as he was in 1932 in Mickey's Review with a little vest and no pants, and he's got a tail. So it's a little different take on Goofy. He's a little bit more rural in the shorts and maybe not quite as smart as it is in, let's say, a Goofy movie. So every incarnation of Goofy have a little different tack on it. And that allows us to kind of explore areas that we couldn't do with another version of Mickey and of Goofy. For example, in Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, there's a 5 and under crowd that it goes to. You kind of play the character a little bit slower so the kids can understand it. And vocally, you kind of modify the acting. Whereas in the shorts, we get to do a lot of things we couldn't do any other way. And they're hilarious, and it's a lot of fun to do them.
That's awesome. Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming back on the show to talk about all of this wonderful stuff. I'm very excited for It's a Dog's Life. I will be checking it out on Disney Plus for sure. And thank you. And I'm so happy you're still able to work right now and that you and your wife are doing well. And you've got your dogs to keep you company. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, they make me take them on walks every night. So it's keeping me busy.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you folks enjoyed my exclusive interview with Bill Farmer and that you'll be tuning into It's a Dog's Life with Bill Farmer when it's released on Disney Plus this May 15th. If you'd like to hear more from Bill Farmer discussing his career and stories about performing the voice of Goofy, be sure to listen to episode 446 of Disney Coast to Coast, where we discuss that and so much more. If you haven't yet listened to this past Wednesday's episode of Disney Coast to Coast, give it a listen to hear all about the Disney Parks merchandise trends and fads throughout the years. And on next Wednesday's episode, I discuss my thoughts with a Disneyland parade performer all about the new Magic Happens parade at Disneyland Park. Make sure you don't miss out on any of it by subscribing to Disney Coast to Coast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so many more of your favorite podcast listening platforms. And if you'd like to gain access to bonus DCTC content, don't forget to visit patreon.com/DisneyCTC. On Friday, April 24th, I'll be having a live stream Q&A with members of the DCTC community, so be sure to head to patreon.com/DisneyCTC to see how you can join in on the fun. That's patreon.com/DIZNEYCTC. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.